Is the unnamed tavern named Unnamed Tavern? Is Unnamed Tavern named Unnamed Tavern, or is it a tavern that's not been named?
Hmm. Yay.
Yay. It's okay, I'll fix it later.
Like
Don't worry
Splat.
about it. Yeah! Okay, you brought up Russia. So why is Russia changing its language about the war?
Hmm.
Reasons?
So it can justify its its war.
It's PR.
Because for
It's,
a
it's
while,
public relations. It's PR. It's
Oh.
PR. They're doing it for
yeah,
PR.
it's
Yeah, that's what it
so
is.
the PR machine of Putin and his kleptomaniac oligarchs start off saying it's a special operation to rid Ukraine of Nazis. This
So
is
I'll
rich
read
from
this.
a country. This is rich from a country that started off being a collaborator with Hitler and co-invading Poland. I'm sorry, if that idiot commentator who interviewed Putin didn't understand when Putin was poning him, saying, "Yeah, the reason why World War II started was that Poland invaded Germany and they were responding."
You guys remember when
Russia
Tucker Carlson used
tries
to
to
wear a bow
play
tie?
this. Yes, the Carlson idiot. Russia tries to play this great, patriotic war, but we have to realize that Russia started off as being a Nazi collaborator and a co-invader of Poland.
A sympathizer for Nazis. Yeah, we haven't been running into that recently. Okay, March 22nd.
So that special operation, the military operation, and this is something that Tucker Carlson, if he had even a basic understanding of history or cared,
Landon,
Landon,
Landon, he was in Russia and talking about where he went and got groceries from, which was a French grocery chain. He's a moron. He's a fucking buffoon. His head is a literal melon. His head might as well be filled with the inside of a pumpkin.
He stated that he was a patriotic American because he has ancestors who fought in the Revolutionary War.
Oh wow, you mean he came from better men? What a shame. I'm not surprised. Listen, not every jizz sock is worth being a baby. Some people should have been swallowed. Alright, anyway. Now that I'm done being angry at Tucker Carlson. Oh no, not my demonetization.
I would tell you, by the way, a suggestion for Debate Hub.
Yeah.
You were talking about having a show to get commentary on. Yeah. I would recommend that we watch and comment on Tucker Carlson Putin interview.
Oh god.
We do a thing.
Ooh,
we do.
Do you just hate me? Did I piss you off?
All right, trademark.
I guess to be fair, I would know if you pissed me off if you just stopped talking to me and stopped showing up on my show.
Yeah, sorry, trademark Canada.
All right.
It's very important. But you have to recognize that sorry. You have to spell it. You have to pronounce it like Canadian. You have to say sorry, trademark Canada.
Yes.
A trademark.
All right, March 22nd, Kremlin said on Friday that what a segue. The Kremlin said on Friday that what it has described for more than 2 years is a special military operation in Ukraine had become a war because of the involvement of the West. Here's a look at what Russia is changing its terminology. It was always a war, so why call it a special operation? I'm putting president in quotes. President Vladimir Putin coined the term special military operation. The U.S. initials are SVO on February 24th, 2022, the day he launched his full-scale invasion of Ukraine. By using that euphemism, he created expectations for an action that would be limited in time and scale and wouldn't impinge on most Russians' normal lives. He also shut down criticism of the invasion and made it a crime to describe the war as a war by signing laws that set long prison terms for discrediting the armed forces or spreading false information about them. So yeah, imprisoning your own people who are critical of your government or the decisions your government is making, discrediting them with those dirty things like facts, and getting them the fuck out of Dodge. They're not allowed here. None of that shit. What's changed in Russia's language over time? The notion that Russia is not fighting an actual war has become impossible to sustain. Given the scale of casualties, the huge increase in defense spending and military production, and the frequency of Ukraine strikes, not only in border areas but deep into Russian territory. Putin has continued to refer to the SVO, but it has increasingly portrayed the conflict to Russians as an existential struggle akin to that waged by the Soviet Union against Nazi Germany in World War II. He has
because Ukraine is super interested in invading all of Russia and taking over it. That's a thing they definitely
and Belgium
want to do.
and France and England and literally everywhere else.
To be fair, even if Ukraine did want to do those things, it wouldn't be an existential threat to Russia. Only the invasion of Russia part would be an existential threat for Russia.
Quite frankly, I can't imagine anybody wanting to invade France. That seems like a terrible idea, because I feel like the French just go, okay, yeah, sure, come on in, and now we're gonna spit on you and treat you like complete shit and demoralize the fuck out of you until you leave.
But you get wine out of it.
That there were plenty of Nazi collaborators in France who actually welcomed and filled in the power vacuum.
Yes.
And some of those actually
if you want to know more, watch the episode where the Hirogen take over the USS Voyager of the Voyager, Star Trek Voyager. Watch that episode. I think it was actually like a two-parter. Watch that bit. Because the crew of the Voyager become the resistance in France, and the Hirogen play the part of the Nazis because they have no fucking clue what they're doing and decide that we're going to be the bad guys because that's not obvious to them. I want to talk about Star Trek sometimes because it's way less depressing than fucking Russian politics.
Vladimir Putin has accused the West of using Ukraine as a theater to wage war against Russia by supplying it with weapons, money, and intelligence.
Way to deny the autonomy of the Ukraine. Yeah, great, awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, Mania's chair.
So, Chesh, then
yeah.
You know, I mean, I'll wait until after finish reading this thing because I have a question for you.
Oh, so what is the Kremlin saying now? Putin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the SVO has become... Why? There's so many smart people in this room. Why am I the fucking person reading? Said that the SVO had become a war when the West joined on Ukraine's side. He said everyone needed to understand this is for the sake of their internal mobilization, a phrase that suggested the Kremlin is demanding a shift in the national mindset to rally the entire country behind war efforts. Why now and what comes next? The shift in language follows 5 days after Putin won a new needs to be in quotes.
Yeah.
Won a new 6-year term in a presidential election, in quotes, from which 2 candidates who opposed the war were barred. Election for people who weren't allowed to participate. Russia is also now speaking increasingly about the need to seize more Ukrainian land. Putin said this week it may need to create a buffer zone to protect its own territory from attack. And Peskov and Russia must fully liberate the 4 regions of Ukraine that it has claimed as its own, but only partly controls. The shift in their language suggests that Putin, encouraged by Russian advances in the past few weeks and delays in the supply of the new United States aid to Ukraine, has now turned the war into the defining mission of his rule. A key question in the coming months will be whether Putin decides, in addition to the internal mobilization that Peskov called for, to stage an actual mobilization like the one he ordered in 2022 when 300,000 extra reservists. Oh, I got it right. Yeah. No way. Hey. We're called up to fight. Yay.
Were they called up or were they forced to fight? That's another question.
So there's a lot to unpack here. I'm going to start off real quick by saying, hey, if you're an American and you're running some pro-Putin bullshit about how well, we should just give Russia Ukraine, this one piece of Ukraine, because who the fuck cares? He is not gonna stop, you dipshit. We don't. What happened to America? We don't negotiate with terrorists. Fuck you.
That was never true. That was
never
a PR
true.
play.
Not even once.
Yeah.
What was your
That's
question,
for other
Landon?
nations, not for America.
So
What do you got for me?
So the thing, a general comment is that the Cold War is back on in full. And
Yay!
Here's the lead up to the question, right? Unfortunately, the Cold War is back on in full, and unfortunately, the Cold War involves lots of innocent victims as both sides rationalize the attacks on each other.
It is a war, after all. Yes.
Historically, the Cold War was something that the Gentlemen of Putin Party was promoting, right? Unfortunately, the Gentlemen of Putin Party GOP has become, at least some segment, rather pro Putin.
Why is his hand so
question
tiny?
is why? Why is
he's friends with Trump?
It's bigger than Trump's hand. Why has that party, the Republican Party, become full of people that seem to be pro Putin? It used to be that even if you hinted at something like Canadian
communism,
healthcare, socialism, you were deemed to be anti-American, right? This is the party now that actually tolerates and venerates leaders who are chummy with Putin and, for example, are trying to stop the United States from supporting Ukraine, right? The Republican Party, as a Congress, has been trying to interfere. Now, there's hope that this will happen, but Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, has said, if we start running out of supplies, we'll have to start doing withdrawals of areas because we don't have the ability to sustain this war. And the GOP radicals, not all of the members, but a bunch of the radicals have bottled up Congress and made it very difficult for the U.S. to supply and support. And they're pushing this narrative of about the Ukraine war. So Chesh, where are we going? Why is this Republican Party becoming tolerant of people to support Putin?
I want to let Mani go first, and then I'll answer your question. Yeah, go ahead, Mani.
I might have some answer of it. I might have.
I'm gonna think about it while Mania goes.
Landon's question. This is all part of, like if you remember, Mitch McConnell's strategy of that they will stop Democrats at every turn. But now, but people like Mitch McConnell, like those leaders, they knew when to rein it back, especially around international policy. But because the previous generation is almost obsolete, the new generation is out of control now. So it has gone too far now that they are now collaborating with the states that don't have best interests, for US. So that's what I think is happening. Plus, what Landon said about the radicals who are supporting Putin, in the GOP, I would love to see what sources of income they have. I would love to see if they're receiving any money from any sort of lobbyists and where that money is coming from to support Russia in that way. So yeah.
Very, very good. Any other comments on how this Republican Party has become tolerant of significant members who are just pro Putin?
This is just they have to fall in line because they want to oppose Democrats. But they don't know how to do it anymore because Democrats are now smart. They're becoming more smart and they're becoming more efficient against them. So the only
Mani is definitely right.
Only way the only way they see is what the radicals are showing them. So they are just okay, they will take the brunt. They will take the fucking all the
the enemy of my enemy is my friend is the short form.
Yeah. And
I
they will just poke them and egg them.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's another bit of it. I think there's a few things. Because first, I agree with Manya. I think a big part of it is just, well, the Democrats don't seem to like Putin, so I guess we like him because we're not them.
It's shallow, I think is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah. There's a few other things. I think one is the GOP has been openly, in many cases, calling for a dictatorship.
Yes.
Like, yeah, we want a
yeah.
dictator.
Yes.
And so Putin is a role model rather than an adversary.
I would specify that it's not quite just the GOP. It is specifically if you go to any Trump rally and Trump openly saying, I want to be a dictator for a day, and people at that rally agreeing with that being a thing. So, sorry.
I also think part of it is Putin has been openly aligning himself with the religious right in Russia. And the religious right in Russia is not the same as the religious right in the United States. For one
Good
thing,
point.
the religious right in Russia tends to be Russian Orthodox and not, say, Protestant evangelical. But it's close enough that I think that a lot of GOP voters see more of themselves in Putin than they do in, say, Joe Biden. So, for instance, the Russian government is very unfriendly to LGBTQ people. It is friendly to the established church in Russia, which is the Russian Orthodox Church, which, by the way, has had a bit of a falling out with the rest of the Eastern Orthodox churches. So that's a thing that's happening. Well, I can't say all of the rest of them, but the relationship is strained. Shall we
there.
say?
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination of a big portion of the GOP wants a dictator. A big portion of the GOP sees Putin as aligning himself with his country's religious right, which they identify with. And also, I just think that a lot of them don't really care about people who aren't them. And so they don't care about Ukraine, right? Because ultimately, what has
there's
the GOP
America
pushing
and there's
for-
not America, and even Democrats have this, like, a democratic America has this issue where it's just the American people do not have a good education or understanding of outside of America. They barely have a good understanding of inside of America. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, that was mostly. I was just going to say, like, the religious right thing, the pro-dictatorship thing, and then they don't care about Ukrainians. So why bother even mentioning them?
I'm thinking about this too hard. I actually have a different take that doesn't dissuade dappers. I think it would more go on top of it. My thoughts on this is I think that the OG GOP in America, so like your Lindsey Graham, your Mitt Romneys, right? Lindsey Graham was 100% right when he said that if the GOP makes Trump the running, the GOP as we know it is dead. And I think
it already is, basically.
Well, it was, right, at the time. This was like that. He said this at near the beginning of the 2016 election. And I think what's happened is the media, like the mainstream media, has thrown the OG, like the original Conservative Party people, who are usually kind, reasonable people, to the wolves. They've been told to go fuck themselves because Trump is more entertaining. Right? He's more valuable. Exactly. He's more valuable to them because he makes them money because people will tune in and watch. Right?
Yeah.
So the media being capitalistic is problematic for the Republican Party. And so I'm going to take this moment to split the GOP into two parts. We're going to take MAGA and some friends, and then I'm going to take the OG style GOP people who are not this extremist, who are not, they don't like Trump, but they still like conservative policies around, usually it's like fiscal. It's like fiscal conservatism. That's like a lot of where you find like a lot of the GOP people come from. And so I think part of the problem that you're running into is not only has the media told you go fuck yourself, but that party was destroyed when Trump took office, specifically because the GOP that were there at the time, that conservative party or that portion of the Republican Party does not know how to deal with Trump. So to put on top of what like Mania and Dapper were saying, to say that the Democratic Party has adapted and learned to deal with it, this section of the Republican Party hasn't. They don't know what to do. The smart thing, and then we've also got like this play of short versus long term, right? In the short term, yeah, we want our guy to win because feel good, unga bunga. But in long term, the Republican voters would do better to vote for central Democrats, like center, not left, center Democrats, than they would to vote for Republicans, because it will drive things back in their direction. But they don't know that because their party doesn't know how to deal with Trump. Their party doesn't know how to deal with the extremists. So the Democratic Party is the only one doing anything to deal with these extremists, while the media is just like, ha ha ha, ha fuck you. Like, that's what's happening. Like, we're going to take all of the money in the meantime. And so when it comes to Russia in particular, just to, get to Landon's question. I know I'm going on a rant. Just to get to Landon's question, because I know... Back. Yeah, I know you want to get it like back to how that applies to Russia.
No, I want to respond to you. You're saying good things.
Oh yeah, no. We can come back. We can come back to how I go.
So I think there's a number of things you said that people should pay attention to, that I think that are much more enlightened than you might find in the media. You're talking about the fact that Trump is entertaining, the fact that the free media you consume is a case where you, the listener, are the product being delivered to advertisers. And so Trump is good for business on the one hand, because he
capitalism is hurting Republicans. Capitalism is hurting Republicans.
Even anti-Trump, right? Even the anti-Trump people, where you have stuff, media or someone like a Jon Stewart, they're also they find it good for the ratings to on the Trump issue. Trump is economically.
Trump is low hanging. Trump is like Elon Musk. He's low hanging fruit, but you can't really ignore him.
Yes. Yeah. Now, I think there's a thing that I would say a nuanced choice I would add to your stuff. You talk about the OG Republicans. One of the problems in a lot of places where the balance between who holds the legislature, who holds Congress, is thin, right?
Yes.
You're correct. You talk about I think your good point about talking about the MAGA folks, the Trump cult people are and you can debate where it is. They might be 20% of the Republican Party base or something like that. But if you are let's say a member of Congress that's not MAGA but OG Republican, and you turn on Trump, and Trump says you're an enemy of the state, blah blah bad, you can lose some chunk of that 20%. You might not lose all the MAGA, but you could lose some of it. That's enough to kick you out of office. So
if you don't try hard enough. If you don't try hard enough, yes.
That's why it actually makes news that there's someone in a legislature or in Congress a Republican that criticizes Trump. That actually becomes newsworthy because that's unusual. I think the Republican Party does understand how to deal with Trump, and the answer is they want to get reelected. They'll rationalize.
Short-term versus long. Yes, short-term versus long-term games. The answer is what you should do, right? If you had 7 brain cells and you were able to rub those brain cells together, the 7 deadly sins of brain cells, and you were to shit out an electrical current in your brain and make it function, you would be able to understand that you make news for not liking Trump. That's a big fucking deal for your campaign.
Yes.
That is news. That isn't just national news. That's international news. You've got people in France, you got people in Canada, you got people in Mexico being like, hey, look at this motherfucker. Look at this guy, he's got like 2 brain cells, that's fucking amazing.
And so Romney has made a name for himself.
And it happened, actually.
I have a lot of disagreements policy-wise with Romney.
Yes.
But I will say, on the other hand, Romney has the integrity to say, that Trump has damaged the Republican Party, and these MAGA people need to be considered as problems for the Republican
if the
Party.
Republican Party had any integrity and any balls, what they would do is they would concede the next handful of elections to the Democrats and split their party in half.
Yeah, I mean, I have a good friend of mine who is a retiring member of Congress.
Your delay, Manya, is pretty bad.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Manya, and I'll wait. You go first, and I'll.
I'm just saying that it's already happened in England. The Brexit, the fucking Brexit.
Yeah, Brexit was the thing.
Like, people were just like, oh, this is something contrarian to the norm that's been going on. We are sick and tired. We want to be entertained, and there comes this party, and they're like, yeah, we are going on our own way. We are not going to be part of the whole European Union. And Brexit happened, and now everybody's like, huh, nani, Pikachu face?
Leopards ate my face.
So yeah, it does. Yeah, it does happen. It translates to different, regions of the world.
Yes.
I will say, on the other hand, as much as I dump on the former United Kingdom and stuff, it seems like their voters are about ready to kick the Tories to the curb in a serious way, such that there's even talk now that the polls might suggest, I doubt it, but I suggest that the Tories might be reduced to a third-party status. Right?
Good. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
But it's in my opinion, it's too late.
It is. I mean, in terms of talking about the election coming up, it is. But that's we'll get sidetracked on.
Go ask France. It's never too late to guillotine a leader.
But coming back, I just say you mentioned again about France, right? One of the reasons why the president of France is coming out such apparently hard line to saying we got to support Ukraine, even particularly suggesting that French troops might go into Ukraine and quote non-combat operation. You understand that France and Russia are fighting proxy wars in Africa.
Yes,
there's a section of Africa where France and their thing, the Wagner Group, remember that whole thing there. Their focus is now on they're now become state managed rather than private managed, and they are fighting wars in a section of Africa across the thing, and that's a whole topic. That's different.
It's there's something that I think is important to talk about, and I think maybe we'll end on this, and then I'll let everybody talk about like last words, and we're getting the fuck out. Is that there, as much as Ukraine is very much in the news, and as much as Palestine and Israel are in the news, which we haven't really talked about today, but this is a very big thing that's going on in the world. Whenever your attention is drawn to one or two things, be aware that there's about 17 other things going on that you're not looking at. And that's because the mainstream media is not balanced. And there's a plethora of reasons, and I could complain about mainstream media all fucking goddamn day, and whatever, we can maybe talk about that another day. The point is that if you don't go looking, you're never gonna know until it's too late, or until it's now in a history book. So, it's these, and it's not to say these things aren't important. I'm more saying, keep your eyes out. There's other stuff also going on that is related and inherently intertwined with what is happening in Ukraine or what is happening in Palestine and Israel. And I'm not going to leave Canada out of this, but since who we're talking about is currently America and its relation to Russia, proxy wars happen all over the fucking world all the goddamn time, and people should fucking stop.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let Manya go first, then Landon, then Dapper, and then so final thoughts, what you're talking about, and then we're gonna get and what you're up to, and we're gonna get out of here.
So my thing is that yes, it's I agree with Chesh. If you don't go looking, you will never know. You will never know. And I'm just giving like a personal example. It happens between me and my family. They don't know what's going on out there. They have no idea. They only care about what's happening in India, and what's India's position at international stage. That's all they care about. They don't care about what else is going on. So
Right.
it's yeah. So I have noticed that. So yes, when I tell them that this is what is internationally going on, they absolutely refuse to imbibe or absorb that information, and it's so frustrating. So yeah, I agree with Chesh on that.